mission to end the silence, the stigma, and the shame about suicide loss, ideation, and mental health. Please, won't you join me? Welcome to Suicide Zen Forgiveness, the podcast that shares powerful stories of suicide loss, ideation, and mental health in order to break the silence, stigma, and shame. Our mission is to encourage empathy for those experiencing these challenges. Every narrative serves as a beacon of hope, want to touch lives and inspire resilience. Won't you join me in this journey as we share stories to help others to find hope? Please note this podcast is for educational purposes and may contain triggering content. If you're grieving or experiencing mental health issues, please reach out to your local suicide hotline or mental health office for immediate help. And now, let's start the show.
It's great to be back. And today I am honored to present to you our guest. Our guest is Dr. Valéssa L. Taylor. She has, in my estimation, so many accolades and has done so many wonderful things. I am truly honored to have her on the show today. And I know you are going to get some amazing tidbits of wisdom. So I'm going to stop talking and bring Valéssa to the stage. Hello.
Hello, lady. How are you?
I'm good. I'm better now that I've got you here with me.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
It is, as I said, an honor and a pleasure to have you with me. I have to say, from the very first second I spoke to you, I knew right away that, one, you had a story, and two, you were someone that lived life to the fullest, no matter what you were doing. There was such a huge energy around you. It's intoxicating, and I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
And as people know, we talk about some pretty tough stuff here. We talk about suicide loss and ideation and mental health.
Mhm.
The whole point, I think, will really be wrapped up well today because Valéssa will show you how the strength and the fortitude comes from within, and you too can build that. So without further ado, I'm just going to say, why don't you just start us off giving us a little bit about what your story is, and we'll take it from there.
All right. I'm going to start off with, are you suffering in silence? I want you to think about that for a moment because the world is suffering in silence. Now, how are we going to navigate through everything that we've been through and say it's okay to be okay?
Oh, wow. That is one loaded question, that is. And as people heard in your bio, you're distinguished and decorated in the Air Force. You have written books. You have started community movements and really put so much in place. What we want to know is, where did that start? What was it that triggered you to step up for the world?
It's a twofold to that. The first part is I became a magnet to toxic relationships. Now, let me unpack that for a moment. When we have not healed from our core, that means unpack our past traumas, where it can be rape, suicide ideations, things that overwhelms us to say, no, I can't. But on this journey of our walk, we have to know that we can and we will. I wrote my two books called, the first one is Rape the Silencer. Deep Girls Don't Tell It to Now. As you can see, it says, my copy to the world is, I wanted to start my healing journey. When I lost my husband to suicide in 2003, I was left with 3 children. My daughter was 7 and my daughter was 12 and my twins were 7. So I drove them to the hospital and he ended up unaliving himself inside of a hospital. Now, with that powerful inclination in my mind, when the nurse came to me and she specifically said, can we speak to you for a moment? And I said, yes. I had the Thanksgiving meal in hand because he did it on Thanksgiving Day. So I have a Thanksgiving meal in my hand. And she says, I'm sorry to tell you, your husband just committed suicide. And I was shocked because it was on Thanksgiving Day. Now I had to go back and talk to my children. My daughter was 12, my twins are 7. Now my twins did not know what death was. They thought he was sleeping. But when it came to my daughter, she started crying. I never forget the look in her eyes, and she just started screaming and yelling, no. But on that journey of my walk, I knew within my core that I had to face my inner child. I had to face unstoppable resilience to keep pushing forward on the journey. I stopped caring about what people thought of me. I looked at myself in the mirror and say, now, how am I going to push through with 3 small children? How am I going to do it? By grace and faith, I did it. Then that is a story of being resilient. That is a story of a Air Force veteran that had to maneuver through serving her country, being a widow, and also being a single parent at the same time. Then I ended up serving 22 years. Now, with that 22 years of service, I was able to travel all over the world. 300,000 miles, lived in 4 countries, worked for 4 presidents of the United States, and Barack Obama signed my certificate. Yes, he did. But here's what I want you to understand on this journey. Rape the silencer. As I stated before earlier, rape the silencer. How many of us are suffering in silence and we don't know what to do about it? We're so ashamed of what people would think of us. I was that way. When I first wrote my book, I was talking to my hairstylist and I told her, I said, ooh, I'm writing a book. She says, girl, what is it about? I said, it's me at 13. She said, you know what? My cousin did that to me. And I said, what? And she goes, yeah. So I said, okay, I carried mine for 33 years. Guess what? I am not the only one. So then I started putting pain to paper. As I looked at the mirror, tears rolled down my eyes because it was just that pain, paper, and me being vulnerable. So I grabbed that pen and I started journaling. Who am I? Why am I here? Why did this happen to me? I'm shameful about what occurred to me. This should have never happened. Why did this happen to me? I see. I questioned God. I wanted to take my life at some point myself. Because here it is, you got me being a single parent, serving my country, lost my high school sweetheart, and now I have 3 children that I have to raise on my own. I didn't know how to pay an electric bill, gas bill, Didn't know how to do any of that stuff. But what I did, the will of God, when I looked my kids in the eyes and they said to me, Mommy, what are we going to do now? And that became the workbook. Are you suffering in silence? It's the first part. The second part goes back to that pain to paper, writing that fearless letter to your abuser, reading it out loud, and start journaling out that thought of who that person was and who you are now and how it made you feel when you went through all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, is Rape the Silencer. Good girl, I'm telling it to now. Why did I call it Good Girl? I'll tell you why. Because when I was growing up playing the hopscotch and dancing and being so just all in myself, being vulnerable and loving me, we used to always say, good girls never tell. Good girls never tell. So now, with this book, Good Girls Don't Tell Until Now. The world needs to hear your story. I became Valéssa Winslow on this journey. Why? Because I had to go back to my inner child, where she was waiting on me with open arms. And I looked at her, she looked at me, and we did. We prayed, we cried, we laughed. And another thing I did was I got in that car and I drove tears upon tears, driving, cursing, screaming. And then I went to the doctor and I said, I'm here. I wanted to give up. But if I give up, where will my children go? They're all I have and not all they have. The therapist said to me, I'll never forget it. I need you to do 3 things. I need you to forgive yourself. It's not your fault. And now it's time to begin your journey of healing. Now, when he told me, forgive yourself, I looked at it to him like he had 3 heads. I didn't even know what that meant. Forgive what? Me? Forgive my... And he said, it's not about you. It's really about all that stuff you carried. Then that moment of healing begins. And when I say it's not about you, I say to you that in the beginning, it's not about you. It's because when you look at yourself, you're seeing more than you. You're seeing so many that could not take that pen, take that paper, and start drinking and painting the paper. So that Valéssa Winslow is still me. But I'm Dr. Valéssa L. Taylor, a trauma breakthrough specialist with over 30 years that I can share my strength with the world without any hesitation. I can talk about rape. I can talk about molestation. I can talk about all those things because I healed from the core. And I know how to love me from the inside out.
That is so powerful and so amazing, because I want to go back and unpack a little more, because were you always religious?
That's a great question. I was always religious. My grandmother was religious. She was a mother in the church, as they call her, a mother in the church. I was always religious, and she always had me in the choir. I could not sing at all. That's the funny part about it. But she was on the front row, a mother, and she said, you will be in the choir. And I was like, the funny part about it, I love to dance. So when we're being ushered in, I'm doing all my property. The name, hey, that's not what we do. I was like, oh my God, I gotta figure this out. Because now I'm doing it. And they was laughing at me, and I was like, oh my God, my grandma want me to be in the choir. I'm listening to the music like I'm hip hop. But she had me in the church all alone. All alone.
See, that for me is the difference for so many who do not have a grounding in faith.
Ah. Mhm.
That grounding in faith, even though you did say at one time you railed against God for what had happened, which makes sense. But that grounding in faith
Mhm.
allowed you not to totally lose faith.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's so important because so many people, we don't either have a deep enough faith or our faith has been so shaken that we totally walk away from it when trauma happened.
Yes. And I would also like to add, Elaine, is they often feel like they're alone.
Yes. Yeah. And that you said that early on, and it is so important because whether it is being suicidal, having ideation, any mental health, or rape, you do feel like you are the only one.
Yes.
And we're coming to a place now where finally people are speaking up and not being tarred and feathered because they did. I'm a child of the 50s and 60s and lived through an aunt who was raped by the janitor where we live. And all the men, my father and uncle and all the other Scottish men in the building went to deal with him that night. We as kids didn't really know what was going on. I had been going outside, or I had, sorry, I'd been going outside and she was coming up from the basement looking very disheveled, but I didn't understand that at the time. I think I was probably 8. And she grabbed me and dragged me back up to the 4th floor where they lived. And I'm going, "And Happy, I'm going outside." She wasn't talking. She was shaking. And I'd never seen her look so intense. She actually frightened me.
Wow.
That night, it was all hush. The adults were, the women were talking, but the men all left. And I know later there were police and whatever, and whoever beat him to a pulp. And my aunt and my cousins and 2 other of the men were evicted of the
Mhm.
building. So what that taught us was not to say anything, not to do anything.
Mhm.
You just had to put up with whatever.
Yes.
And back then, that's how it was. Silence was golden and shame was rampant.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. It's I think it's wonderful that we're coming into a time where Gen Z and even the millennials are
Mhm.
saying, you know what? We're not going to be quiet.
That's right.
And God bless them all. I don't want anything to happen to anyone.
Mhm.
But if it does, I want you to talk about it. I want you to tell everyone
Mhm.
because the shame that should be on the perpetrator and no one else.
That's correct. I agree. Mhm.
And I think it's wonderful that through your faith, you had the strength to basically live a very full and distinguished life and take yourself forward. You've managed to go ahead as a widow, to deal with your husband taking his life, and still raise 3 children and not sitting on the sidelines. You're traveling the world and working for your country and all of that.
Mhm.
That takes an immense amount of fortitude and inner strength. And I really believe that your grandmother and going to church, being in the choir,
Yeah.
instilling that faith, whether you could sing or not,
All right.
yeah, made the difference. Because it gave you something that not everybody has. We're not necessarily born with faith. It has to be instilled in us. Thank God you got that opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say, I want to add something to that. The biggest regret was when I went through so much, I really would have loved to. My mother's no longer with me, and my grandmother's no longer with me either. My mom passed away in 2011 of lung cancer, and my grandmother passed away in 1995. Just a little bit of that. She raised me and my oldest brother, but she was able to stay there until all her children left.
Oh, wow.
I had one of the most amazing times. This lady, Helen Marie Winslow, she made blackberries from a tree in the backyard and moonshine and sent half her children to college. Yeah. Yes, she had a acres of land, property, and she used to always say, buy everything cash. And she was no nonsense. She was to herself, but she loved everyone. She was never a stranger. I remember going to Steinmart and saying that I'm Helen Marie Winslow's granddaughter. He said, and there was like, you can have anything you want. So that meant credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's another thing that I remember. My mother, my grandmother, this is lineage of greatness. My grandma was born in 1912. So I have some historic lineage of greatness there. But this is what I figured out. This is so cool. She taught herself how to read and write. And she was figuring out how to write her name in cursive.
Wow.
And the reason why is because she wanted to sign her checks when she got paid as an entrepreneur. I figured it out.
Wow. That is awesome. Now, I have to say this because back then, to aspire to be an entrepreneur, even for a privileged white person of female
Mm-hmm.
gender,
Mm-hmm.
that was not the norm.
Correct.
That was a major uphill battle, so much more for
Yes.
your grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
But bow down. Wow. Wow.
Oh, yeah. I figured it out. I said, that's what she's doing. I was sitting her, I was watching her pronunciate, going in there, reading and sounding out the words and all of that. And I remember her getting a pen, a paper, some paper, just her name. I was like, woman there. She was teaching herself how to sign her name to her checks when she did business with her client.
That is awesome. And on top of that, she was a moonshiner, which I just fits.
Yeah, Mama
Fun.
and moonshine and wine. She made a killing off of that.
Hey, more power to her. To, like, that had to be a little serious
Yeah.
to be doing that. Yeah. Yeah. In Scotland, I think most of my grandmothers were more into betting on horses and doing things they weren't supposed to be doing either.
Okay.
But yeah, living in the slums of Scotland with very little, it was the women, the grandmothers, who found a way to
Yeah.
make enough money, keep the family in food and
Yeah.
whatever.
I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we laud people enough for the sheer fortitude of women,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe suicide numbers and suicide loss and attempt are so much higher for women because of the propensity of rape
Yes.
and how much and how often that happened
Yeah.
in March. You really have to just be absolutely bowled over by how strong we women are.
Oh, yes. I agree with that. Absolutely.
And my grandmother said to me when I was young, needs must. I used to think that was the weirdest thing I'd ever heard,
Mm-hmm.
but now it makes a lot of sense. When you need to feed your children, when you need to go ahead, when you need to put it behind you because you don't have another option,
Correct.
women step up
Big time. Yep.
big time. And it's not a matter of can you often, it's a matter of needs.
Yes. That's so powerful. Yeah, that's so powerful. Okay.
So, where can people get your book?
They can get it on my title is once again is Rape the Silencer. Good Girls Don't Tell It to Now. And Rape the Silencer, Work the Book. Now, just giving you a little visual. Well, that's the workbook. This my copy as I talked to you about. Now that's on Barnes and Noble, Kindle, and Amazon, and a lot of other different places. I've seen it just went viral all over. But
We
yeah,
can do one better. We'll put the books right up there.
yeah, that's her.
That's absolutely beautiful.
Winslow. She started off as Valéssa Winslow. That's what her name was, and
Wow.
I always carry that with her.
And I think it's wonderful to note that your books are written as Valéssa Winslow.
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's a wonderful ode to your grandmother.
You know what? That right there, that is so awesome. That is so awesome that you mentioned that. I didn't think about that, but absolutely. Mhm.
And I think that's super important
Mhm.
that she gets to participate in your success as well.
Oh yeah, I love. She's there. I'm every bit of her. I am so much like her. I was her. Don't say nothing, but I was her favorite.
I was my grandmother's favorite too.
So, and I love. I like get into an argument with my grandmother. And she used to always say, "Your mouth always gets you in trouble." I wouldn't say so bad. Grandma was, "Where am I getting it from? I can't about you want my you man's wicked man."
Frozen. Yeah, my grandmother was 4'9"
Oh,
with a personality that was 7 feet tall.
hear that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. Everybody thinks I'm tall. I'm 5'2" myself. Me too.
But I'm really tall for 5'2".
Everybody thinks I'm tall by my pictures. I said, nope, I'm 5'2". But
Well,
I
see, that
carry a big stick though.
that's a very good height, I have to say.
I carry a big stick.
Ooh, that is good. That is good. For me, oh, I don't think I'm so good with the big stick. I made sure I had a big vocabulary
I hear that. Yeah.
because that works too.
That stick is like a metaphor though. That's
Yeah,
it's like a sword.
yeah. Yeah.
You going in some places is you gotta carry that because you never know what situation you can be involved in.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a little story. I had to rescue a family member from human trafficking. And I used my military background to save a family member from that. I was able to really get into their heads to figure out where she was at and then go in and save her.
Ow.
And then 6 months ago, I was human trafficked.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so people will often say, man, how did you do that? By the grace of God. But like I say, my military career has really gave me the fortitude, gave me the grace, the tenacity, to the resilience to go into any situation. I even deployed to Balad, Iraq, any situation and go into it and take care of my business and just walk out, just step mode. Just go in and take care of things and come on out.
That's absolutely so important. You'll note on the screen there is a link. It is a short link that will take you to Valéissa's books on Amazon. And all of the information about Valéissa and how you can contact her and all of her social links and everything else will be right below us, along with the transcript of this podcast. Sorry, just washed my tongue. Can't do a thing with it.
I hear that.
So, going forward, for the audience, what is something that, some little tip or tool that you'll use daily or maybe even weekly that keeps you centered, keeps you being you?
Okay, so I'm going to look at this right here. I'm going to go to my workbook. And this is one of my quotes. Unleash your whisper into the direction of someone's win today. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Author Valéssa Winslow. So the question I'm going to ask from this book, what words can you say today to encourage that someone who may be experiencing abuse the way you did? And you listed below. I'm going to say this right here. Me at 13, I was vulnerable. I was taken advantage of. I had shame. I had guilt. I didn't love myself. But by the grace of God, He stepped into my heart and He allowed me to take on that journey and be who I am today. I am Dr. Valéssa L. Taylor. I'm the top Air Force Veteran of the Year. I am here to make a difference to the entire world. I love you from your core, from the inside out. And today is a day of a breakthrough for you. If you're feeling alone, if you're feeling you can't go on, you are loved. You are appreciated. And the 2 books that I have for you is going to change your life forever.
That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
You have given us so much in things that I think we don't talk about enough, and that is being buoyed by our faith, being able to get through anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had a lot of anything in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that it's obvious your faith has brought you through and you are a positive, energetic, and empathetic individual. Going forward, I can see you helping so many.
Thank you.
Is there another book to me?
I've written 2 more books, actually. One is a very spiritual journey, and then the other one is really about women empowerment. What I'm going to say to one person that may be listening and they feel like going across and not returning, God loves you. I love you. And never give up. It's never too hard just to say, I need help. When I say it's never too hard, and here's why I say that. I was in your shoes and I thought I was the only one, remember? But I kept my faith there. And now I can truly say I am winning. I may not always have the greatest day, but what I will say is I'm going to make someone else's day better. Because when I see a smile on someone else's face, I know that is helping them in some form of fashion. We don't always say, how you doing? Doing fine. Most people are not doing fine because they wear the mask. But what I want to tell you, take off that mask. It's okay. God loves us, and I'm cheering for you.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We have been graced with Dr. Valéssa L. Taylor, aka Winslow, which I think is really important for you to retain, because I believe that the Winslow part of you is what has allowed for the Taylor part of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going forward, I think they both deserve a place.
Yeah. I think so too. I had talked to a lady and she goes, and it's funny you're saying that because she said, "Oh, you did a lot of with that Winslow, but just in case if you have family members that are trying to reconnect with you, you might want to say Valéssa Winslow Taylor, just in case. You never know. You may have some family members." And she did tell me that. This was months ago. And I don't know.
I think that's lovely. And it's a really good way to incorporate it while still honoring Taylor and still giving a nod to not just you and young you, but your grandmother.
And you know what? That's why I'm going to really think about it, is because of Helen Marie Winslow.
I want to say thank you, Ellen Marie Winslow, for giving us Valéssa.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to thank Valéssa for everything you've given to us today. I know that there are nuggets in there, and I know that there are a lot of our audience will be buoyed by a lot of what was said here today. And remember, you'll be able to get a hold of her from everything down below.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Valéssa. I'm going to say Valéssa L. Winslow Taylor. I thank you for being my guest today. I'm Elaine Lindsay. This is Suicide Zen Forgiveness. And until next time, make the very best of your today, every day.
Bye.
To you. Bye for now.
Thank you for being here for another inspiring episode of Suicide Zen Forgiveness. We appreciate you tuning in. Please subscribe and download on your favorite service and check out SZF's YouTube channel or Facebook community. If you have the chance to leave a 5-star rating or review, it'd be greatly appreciated. Please refer this to a friend you know who may benefit from the hope and inspiration from our guests. Suicide Zen Forgiveness was brought to you by the following sponsors: Truel Social Media, the digital integration specialists. Let them get you rockin' page 1 in the search results. Canada's keynote humorist Judy Croon, motivational speaker, comedian, author, and stand-up coach at Second City. Judy has been involved for over a decade in the City Street Outreach Program in Toronto.
The ultimate podcasting pack. This is great for you if you're just starting your podcast or if you've been running it for a while. It's filled with tools, templates, and trainings for starting, growing, and monetizing your podcast. Get access to time-saving systems and strategies for accelerating your process at each step. Find new connections and collaborations in the uplifting podcasting community. I look forward to seeing you there.
Do you have a story to share? Do you know someone you think would be a great guest? Please go to szf42.com. And for our American listeners, that's szf42.com. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again.